Before we begin, thank you very much to Nash D for joining the Patreon campaign. Thank you very much for the support. Thank you everyone for your support. It is genuinely what lets me do this for you every single day. It is the reason I can keep being a YouTuber for everybody. And I absolutely appreciate all of the support. So thank you, Nash. Very appreciated. Thank you, everybody. Now, because it is the first of the month, it is time for the Q&A. Now, this is one of those things I do just so I can give you guys access to me to answer pretty much anything you want me to answer. You guys should know the rundown by now. So if you have a question for next month, please leave it in the comments below. But keep in mind, you need to keep it to one question per person. Please keep it within TOS. Don't get me in trouble or anything, or I will have to remove you. Do not ask me about Gun Megatron, Gundam, or like fanfic or fan art ideas. All of your creative ideas are valid. You do not need me to say that, yes or no to them. Is there anything else? It's always something else. If you want to make a comment on the video, please mark it as a comment first so I can get straight to the questions, because we got to get through these as fast as possible. And please only ask quick answer questions. Don't ask me to come up with entire rosters or create brand new stories off the top of my head. Nothing that makes me stop and drag this video out any longer. There's already over 170 comments and / questions we have to go through today. So let us begin. And it starts off with one that, I try to advise against, which is, here's a story pitch. A series where the son of Megatron is trying to prove he's not like his father, while Optimus' son becomes the new leader of the Decepticons because he's overshadowed by his father, who's now a legend. Yes, there is story potential for that. It's kind of a trope that has been done in the past. It is all about getting a writer behind it that can actually make it feel real. You also have to come up with the concept of children for Transformers, because that's something they don't really tackle. And I'm hard pressed to remember them, like, outside of like Star Saber adopting John, which doesn't really count, or Lio Convoy having Lio Jr., which is also a weird circumstance. Like, Transformers regularly having kids is not something that happens. So you'd have to come up with fiction to give that credence first. Then you can go into the, like, what happened to the children of the legends. Do you find a wasted opportunity that the original Marvel Comics made planets for the human-looking Autobot pretenders to fit in, but not for the actually alien-looking Decepticon pretenders? I mean, yes, but also, I never really saw Decepticon pretenders as something that was actually trying to hide or disguise. Like, it doesn't feel robots in disguise. Now, would it be cool if there was like an entire planet full of aliens that looked like Bugley or Bombburst? Yeah, give a little bit of credence to why you went with those designs. But it genuinely feels like they being the Decepticons, went with those genuinely just to make scary monsters that were very intimidating. But that said, yeah, it's not a bad idea. They had to come from somewhere. See, the Terrans get into a WWE Battle Royale event. The winner gets a new masterpiece figure of themselves made. Which of the 5 Terrans will be the last one standing in the ring? I mean, if we're talking a Royal Rumble, then it's probably going to be Jawbreaker, because he's the strongest of the team, and he's the heaviest. You getting him. It's a Battle Royale. Yeah, for those who aren't wrestling savvy, you have to throw someone over the top rope, and they have to land on the floor with both feet touching the floor in order to win. So in that situation, now here's the thing. If it's like actual Battle Royale rules, then it's Jawbreaker, because no one's going to be able to get him over the top rope, and he's just too freaking strong. If you're talking about like an actual just like 1v1v1v1v1, then you might start talking to like, it ain't gonna be Thrash. Thrash just came up short on everything. I feel like I don't think it'd be hashtag. I don't think she's got like killer instinct about this. My gut instinct is that you could probably outsmart Jawbreaker. He's not incredibly stupid, but compared to Nightshade and Twitch, yeah, they could out clever him. I think it'd come down to Nightshade or Twitch, and I wouldn't mind either one of them. There you go. So I'm not super familiar with He-Man, but since they're doing a TF collab figures, what characters would be Starscream, or would just be the evil lady as Slipstream? So that is the unfortunate thing about there only being like one token female in the villain roster of He-Man, is like she is in like that secondary traitorous route that like Starscream is. It'd be hysterical to repattern Starscream as Evil Lyn, or give Evil Lyn this Starscream inspired armor. Character-wise, it would suit. Given the fact that this is He-Man characters in armor based on Transformers, I don't see an issue with making Evil Lyn Starscream based. Now, I would probably give her like maybe a cape that had like the lines and the emblems of Starscream's wings, rather than just give her jet wings, because that's going to feel a little bit weird. But no, like, that's the equivalent. It's Evil Lyn and Starscream. They're both second in commands. They're both power hungry and treacherous. It fits. See, do you think third-party companies should try making a more generation scale figures of characters Hasbro doesn't seem interested in doing? That's what third parties started off as. You remember, like, the whole like origin point of Generations was, hey, Hasbro's not doing it, let's do it ourselves. But you are right in that we are kind of in this like weird thing where the only thing that third-party companies are interested in doing right now is Masterpiece scale and Legend scale. And that's pretty much it. Once in a blue moon, someone comes around with some off-the-wall figure that's like an odd piece, of like more along the lines of like a Voyager. But for the most part, Masterpiece scale, Legend scale. And you are missing that original spirit of like filling in the gaps for Hasbro. That said, Hasbro has been showing that they are willing to do just about any generation and any character. So I fully believe they will eventually get around to Energon characters. Now third party has done a Voyager scale Megatron that turns into a gun. That's a thing. I wouldn't be surprised if third party did the twins for a studio series. Transmetals in Masterpiece scale, yes. Deluxe, no. I think Hasbro will get around to those. I feel like all the Transmetals are going to be plus, because even if you get Hasbro to let go of the whole like, oh, well, what about the Chrome thing? Chrome's too expensive, it's too fragile, nobody wants it. The problem with them is the third mode. Like Rat Trap has, Rat Trap pretty much just has a car mode that he turns into. That's a lot of extra parts. So you know how we have to pay Voyager price for some of the Constructicons because they have extra engineering to be like a leg that's fully functioning? Same principle. So your Rat Trap would be a Deluxe Plus at $35. Your your Rampage and your Depth Charge will be sold as leader class toys, even though they are the size of Voyagers, because added engineering, so on and so forth. Wouldn't be a good look for Hasbro to do them that way. So messy. But really right now, I'm not sure it's the fact that Hasbro isn't interested in doing any character. I think it's just like, where do they fit in? Where does it make sense to do them? Right now, I think they're willing to do anything. What well-respected actor or actress would you like to see do a Transformers voice? So amazing anything Orson Welles is connected to the movie. I will admit I'm not up on actors as much. I got my wish when Keith David did Grimlock, even though I wish that was for more than one episode. But like well-respected big deal actors, Tom Hanks would be great. It used to be a bit on like interviews and appearances to get him to sing the Transformers theme song. So like he has a little bit of history with this. That would amuse me. If I'm trying to think of like who would be really, really interesting, like funny. This is where we get into I really don't know actors very well. You know, I know Ryan Reynolds, and that's about it. Because, you know, and that's just because Deadpool's like one of the one movies that I go out of my way to actually watch. What's your thoughts on Transformers Deviation? So Deviation was the one-off comic book that showed what would happen if Optimus Prime survived the Battle of Autobot City. Basically survived the movie. I did a whole video about this. I think it's the worst Transformers comic book ever produced. I think it's written by someone who has a hate for Hot Rod and the season 3 characters because everybody is written out of character specifically so they can hate on Hot Rod, more so than they did when Optimus had actually passed away from Hot Rod's actions, supposedly. It incorporated a lot of things that would not have happened in the 86 movie, like Starscream randomly becoming a combiner because Combiner Wars was a thing at the time. I thought they didn't do a good job with like creating like a Unicron powered Starscream. I didn't think they did a good job with that. The whole like killing off a lot of the season 3 cast for no reason other than just hatred of the season 3 cast. It's a hit piece. It is a hit piece written by an absolute hack who should never work on Transformers again because you can't write stories with that level of bias. I did 2 videos on what would have happened if Optimus Prime survived the movies, and I think it's way closer to the actual process of events. Can you tell I hate that comic book? Can you tell I hate that comic book? How do you decide what to make for content versus what to enjoy by your own? So the ones that I enjoy myself, I know are not going to get a whole lot of views, so I try to keep that to a minimum. It's really just like when I feel like it. You know, like just when an idea has bubbled up in my head, I'm like, I have to do this or my brain will not let it go. When it comes to like what I decide to make, it's really about looking at what's going on and like what haven't I done in a while? Like, have I done a spotlight on a particular character in a while? It's been a while since I did like 5 good and 5 bad. It's been a while since I did a debate. Been a while since I did like I'm basically looking them through my formats, going like whose turn is it? Like right now, I know I haven't done a tier list in a bit, so now I'm kind of looking at okay, what's a good tier list to do? So it's really just a matter of like keeping the mix going. It helps if there's like big news or big things drop, and then I can make a whole video just for that. And then things like I'm trying to do more reviews because the reviews have been really thin. I'd like to do those more often so they can pick up some steam. And I've been getting a lot of toys in that I really want to talk about. We'll be doing more of that this weekend. But yeah, it's mostly just like a gut feeling. Sometimes it's just like the inspiration hits, and sometimes it's let me do a little digging and see what's overdue. What are your thoughts on G1 movie style Barricade being a Prowl repaint? I understand that it's an easy default, but I do think it takes away from what makes Barricade special, and I think he should be a little bit beefier as a car compared to Prowl. Prowl is very, kind of sleek, low to the ground kind of police car. Keep in mind, it turns into a Datsun. It's not supposed to be a police car. It's not a great. It's not a great vehicle to make a police car out of. So like Barricade being like a heavier, more proper police car, yeah, that works for me. But I think it diminishes him when he's just a repaint of Prowl, unless you write a story where it makes sense. We did a story about how to handle like a Barricade in a G1 setting. So yeah, like I think it's a cheap way of doing a Barricade, basically. And I prefer him to keep a uniqueness, his own vibe. Would under construction also work for original stories, including not limited to original high fantasy setting, original sci-fi setting, original Transformers? No. So no, because if I had like an idea for a story, I would do what I've already done, which is just present it as a video. The under construction that John here is talking about, I have only done once, and that was to specifically fix Power Rangers Super Mega Force. Now, I do want to do more of those because I know a lot of people want me to fix like the Bay movies. They want me to fix Transformers Energon. That one comes up a lot. So there's definitely these, like, it is for taking existing material that has, especially stuff that has a low opinion, and reworking it to make it actually make sense and work. You know, I take it back. We've done it twice. We did it to Beast Machines as well. We did it to Beast Machines as well. I will tell you this. I have had one cooking for literally years in my brain, and it's Kamen Rider Decade. And it all comes down to the same thing that I think the writers of that show also struggled with. I have no idea what to do with Yusuke. I acknowledge he needs to be there, but I have such a hard time trying to figure out what do I actually do with him. So yeah, I want to do more of those, but that format is specifically for fixing existing stories. See, outside of Transformers and Tokusatsu stuff, what other cartoons or shows do you enjoy? So admittedly, I don't have a lot of time to follow modern stuff. So it's very rare when I actually get to sit down and watch new things. Now, if you want like the complete like spectrum of where my tastes go, I did a whole video about how much I love the Owl House. You know, this really well done Disney cartoon with really good LGBT representation and possibly one of the healthiest romantic relationships I've ever seen depicted. And it's in a kid's cartoon, and it's an LGBT couple. It's crazy. And on the other side of the spectrum, there's Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a Boss. You know, where I just kind of like the unbridled chaos and how it just is so unapologetic about how crude it is. Yeah, I like those too. So, a lot of my stuff that I enjoy is older just because I don't have the time to watch anything new anymore. So like my favorite TV show is Red Dwarf. My favorite anime is Slayers, which is from the 90s, you know, things like that, you know. But like current stuff, I don't really follow. Like over here to my left is my TV that has literally not been turned on in like 7 years. It is currently covered in boxed Power Ranger weapon toys, mostly gifted from my girlfriend. So you can understand I am not really interested in much modern TV. I'm trying to be. I'm just back from MetroCon, so like I've got a lot of anime I want to actually watch now. I want to finish Kaiju number 8. I only got it halfway through that, and I need to keep that one going. Who out of the voice actors that played Megatron in the cartoons do you imagine IDW Megatron being played by? So, the truth is, like, generally when I am reading a G1 based story, the voice in my head is the G1 voice actor. So it is Frank Welker. Now, it isn't straight up G1 Megatron. When I imagine his voice as Frank Welker, it's a little bit calmer. It's a little bit softer and maybe a little bit slower too, but it still has the resonance of G1 Megatron. And that's just, you know, and obviously there's going to be some stuff that's done differently, but in my head, if the story is rooted in G1 and G1 characters, I go to like that one. Did you read the Worst Bot Ever comic book by Skybound? I have not. It looked like a really big book. Like it's a comic book, but it looked pretty beefy. So like one of those I'm not going to have the time to really read. Funny premise, I will give you that. See, now that you've been to TFCon Orlando, TFCon LA, would you ever consider going to other TFCon both in US and Canada? Which one do you want to go to first? There's part of me that would love to go to TFCon Toronto because that's like home base. I have been informed that, like, yeah, if you want to go to a TFCon, just go to the one in LA because that's going to be the big one, right? But like Toronto's the OG, and I have friends who generally don't make it across the border, so I kind of want to, you know, like it'd be cool to say like, hey, I visited Canada. You know, my friend Scarlett just got back from Canada, so like it's kind of cool. Okay, you visited another country, never done that before. So it would be, you know, so I wouldn't mind doing it, but the stars have to align for that, which I was very lucky that I got to go to TFCon LA in the first place. How long do you think it will be before Hasbro or Takara gives the bot shots line the respect it rightfully deserves by making masterpiece figures of them? Okay, my man loves his bot shots. I'm not going to begrudge him. Everyone enjoys their own thing in this fandom, and all the power to you. We both know bot shots should be done. Transformers 1, weirdly enough, gave you one little spark of life, but we know the bot shots are done. Like, for me, I have my little one that's for some reason is based on Cybertron Optimus Prime, and I'm happy with that. That's all I really need myself. How quick does Quick Switch Play 1-2 switch on the Nintendo Switch? Not that quick, as it turns out, because that controller, you think a Joy-Con is hard to use with normal human hands. Now you are a giant Cybertronian trying to control it like this. Yeah. You think the stick drift is bad now? Wait until Cybertronian tries using it. How do you feel about the idea of Scramble City Combiners wielding a special weapon that only said arm leg can have, similar to the modules from Kamen Rider Forze? Okay, so basically what you're talking about is like all of them bringing some unique ability or weapon to the mix. I will say it's not a bad idea, because let's be honest here, once the combiners are combined, the giant robots are all pretty much the same thing. They're just gigantic robots who are going to punch each other. Maybe they have a gun, but it's not like the normal cast and crew of Transformers where they all have unique abilities. The closest you get is like Computron's like calculation abilities. Everything else beyond that is just like kind of like they're just big in there. They're just kind of big and kind of there. So yeah, like individual members in like all bringing like different abilities and weapons to the table. That's actually not a bad idea. And then give you incentive to mix and match things too. It's like you imagine like how a video game works where you're swapping arms and legs based on like what's optimum for the stage you're about to go into. Potential. How would you do a gelatinous cube transformer? Well, it wouldn't be gelatinous. That's the thing. Like it would be like, it would be solid. Like you'd have to make it solid. The problem is it would have to be opaque, right? Like it would have to be opaque, which takes away from the gelatinous cube part. Like just a box that transforms into a robot is easy enough, so we're not gonna worry about like engineering level on that. I think your best bet on something like that, your best bet is to have it mostly opaque, but to have like maybe like the front side and then like bleeding into the top side, to have that area translucent so that a smaller figure can fit inside, like a core class or something. So like you could like drop this cube down on top and you could see like the little transformer inside stuck in the gelatinous cube. and then all the opaque parts transform around that. The window like goes onto the backpack. So like that way, like, so yeah, so basically you have like a gelatinous cube is like frosted on most sides to look solid, so the gelatin's like solid, but there's like a gap in it where you can see through it. And then you'd have like basically this like U shape of plastic that you could turn into the robot. I think that's the only way you get everything you want out of it and still make it work as a transformer. I know that's a tricky one. I think it's doable though. And you'll excuse me if I fidget in the chair a lot. I'm trying desperately to stay comfortable. Given that it's very much stuck in the 90s, would you like to see Universal Studios Islands of Adventure in Orlando replace their Marvel land with a new Transformers themed land? So you're so you're asking me to see like you're asking me to redo an entire theme park here. So I will tell you, I've never been to Islands of Adventure, so I don't know these rides. So I can't tell you what would replace what. You know, like there's fun things. Like I would absolutely do like a Seeker coaster where every like section of the coaster was decoed up with a different Seeker. You know, so Starscream at the front, Thundercracker, Skywarp, Ramjet, etc., all the way back. That would be neat. That would be neat. But now, yes, I would love to see a Transformers themed land. I don't know if we're big enough for that. Like maybe like 2010 when the movies were making in billions of dollars. I'm not sure about now because we seem to be receding. Of course, yeah, of course I would love to see Transformers as a whole theme park. Do you think Hasbro replacing HasLab Prime figures will delay Lio Kaiser release? No, because that's not how that works. They definitely have to bump something in their factory productions in order to actually make all the replacement Optimus Primes, which, by the way, I still have not gotten my email telling me, hey, yeah, just hang on to your Prime. You don't have to send it back. We're going to make you a new one. We're going to send you out to you before the end of the year. I haven't gotten that email yet. And I want that email so I can go ahead and fiddle with the Prime I've got. I just want that confirmation I'm getting a replacement. But no, like something definitely got bumped somewhere, but we don't know where. And Lio Kaiser's release, that's not going to be affected. It's just not. What are your thoughts and hopes for the Transformers Timelines release we are getting each year? There's something that can make for a great video and find the future. So yeah, like that is the fun. So there is potential because it's going to be the same 4 characters across different time periods. And they did like turn of the century. They did like Heart because it's, it's Hearts of Steel. And all 4 of them have designs in Hearts of Steel. So that made sense. But now they go crazy. So we can see like dinosaur versions. If we're going to go to ancient past, I would love to see them work something medieval, where, okay, do we do like a knight's horse for somebody? Do we do like castle emplacements? Can Megatron be a ballista? Can Megatron be a catapult or trebuchet? Can we get super weird with it like that? I don't know. I'm having trouble coming up with a lot of like good time periods that are distinct. And like have options for vehicles. It's easy to say like, oh, we'll drop them in feudal Japan. Okay, what vehicles do you make them? I don't know. So that's the trick. Do you think for the next Transformers collab figure, Hasbro should do the Thunder Tank from Thundercats, or would you buy it if they did? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's weird because I don't think Thundercats ever gets anything like really good. Like I guess the Ultimates line has produced a lot of figures, so I'll give that credit. But like also like I do like the look of the Thunder Tank. I really do. That is a perfect little vehicle to actually turn into a Transformer crossover toy. I would really, really like to see that. Also, for your suggestion of Memory of Heroes, I still have it. It's on my Switch 2 now. I don't know. I've done that before. Even to do it as Magnetar and have it in character, I still feel like that's a little bit weird. Could Unicron have an equivalent to the 13 Primes, or should we have Heralds? So someone suggested this in a previous Q&A, and I went ahead and did a video for it. So yeah, we've done a whole video about like what would Unicron's 13 be. But in general, if I'm being honest here, I prefer the Heralds. Like, mostly because Unicron is not necessarily he's not a god of creation, right? So he's not going to create 13 Transformers of his own. It goes against his very existence to bring something new. But to corrupt something that currently exists, that's more Unicron style. So I do prefer the Herald. How do you recommend getting into the Transformer comics, physical, digital, particular series, etc.? So physical can be hard to track down, especially because you have to find like sequential issues available, and they can generally get a little more expensive as collector value sets in. So just to get into Transformer comics, digital, because it's the easiest route, and IDW 1.0. Now, not necessarily starting at the very beginning. There are certain jumping on points, like after Dark Cybertron is a pretty good jumping on point. So better people than me at this have had recommendations like where to jump into IDW just to get a good peek, but just to get like your feet wet and try it out. My gut instinct would be like More Than Meets the Eye, so you can see the Adventures of the Lost Light, because that is good reading even if you're not a Transformer fan. The only problem is it takes a little bit of knowledge on the characters before you begin. So maybe a primer first. What are your hopes for the next SpongeBob movie? I'm not really a SpongeBob fan. It was after my time when it came to kids cartoons. I have none. That's a very unsatisfying answer, but I literally have no way of answering that for you. Do you think that the Omega Prime HasLab is going to be the only one that causes Hasbro to lose more money than it may due to a replacement figure? So I don't know for sure if they're going to lose more money on it than they make, because like they have to replace the figure, because they're only going to replace the core Optimus, not the super mode parts, not the accessories, not the Magnus, not the Blue Bolt. None of that's getting replaced. It's just the core Prime, which is basically just like a leader class, like a Voyager Plus as far as budgeting goes. Honestly, they would probably still make a little bit of money off of this, but not what they wanted. Certainly not what they wanted. But yeah, the only way they would lose money on another future HasLab is if something like this happened again. And that's not going to happen, because now they're going to be watching too closely. They're going to be making sure that does not happen, because it was a PR nightmare. If you could join the Gelato 5, the ice cream themed Sentai from Love After World Domination, what flavor would you be? Strawberry, soda, lemon, peach, and pistachio already taken. My go-to for ice cream is banana, if I can find it. I really do like a good banana ice cream, but it is hard to get a hold of. Granted, don't know if you could even make banana gelato. Someone try it, please. Do you plan on getting the new Lego Soundwave? Absolutely. It's going to be a bit... I still don't even have the Bumblebee. I have the Prime. I don't have the Bumblebee yet. This is one of those things I keep putting off, because it's in that availability and price range where I'm like, I don't really want to spend that right now, but it's going to be around as soon as I do feel like spending it. It's like I can even still find like the Optimus Prime. Like they're around for a while. So yeah, I'm definitely getting the Soundwave. What Sentai ring would you use in Gozuger? And would it be Bokenger? It probably would be Bokenger. If I'm like specifically, if it's not Boken Red, here's the other one, Geki Violet. I really like Geki Violet. Which might just be the fact that I really like a ranger that fights with Muay Thai. Like, that's an interesting choice. So yeah, it'd be one of those two. Any new dinosaurs you'd like to see as Dinobots? Yeah, like Slash and Scar definitely need a little bit more because Raptor and Ankylosaurus are both popular dinosaurs. Yeah, Apache Cephalosaurus is one of the ones that came to mind, like that thick dome head. Quetzalcoatlus would also be fascinating. Just because, like, the engineering behind, because like Swoop is already cheating on his engineering because he's got his legs just show up on his back, which is not the shape of a pteranodon. Yeah, Jawbreaker exists, so maybe not for the Apache. I'd like weird things. Like what about a mosasaur? Just like it was like a gigantic aquatic Dinobot, you know, like something really weird. Like that would be fun. If I had Red Claw here right now, he could tell me a whole list of unique dinosaurs that need to be Transformers. It's all I can't think of too many offhand right now that aren't just like variants of a Triceratops, variants of an Ankylo, variants of a T-Rex. You know, you pretty much nailed the ones that I would like the most right in there. Let's see, I really appreciate the sentiments you live by. You'd make Mr. Cullen proud. I would like to think so. I'd like to think so. If Death Cobra was Death Cobra when he was alive, then why wasn't he alive Cobra after his death? Wow. That's a weird one. Oh my god, I got whiplash trying to parse that for a second. It's a funny idea, but like obviously proper names and all this. A live Cobra being his name in Shattered Glass would be amazing though. Autocons or Deceptibots? Autocons just kind of sounds like a convention for vehicle enthusiasts. I'm gonna go with Deceptibots on that one. What you say is the best worst human villains in Transformers. So like your bests are going to be in the realm of like Mech from Transformers Prime, potentially. Oh, who else? Mandroid from Earthspark. I thought he did a really good job making himself a credible threat. Granted, he had to become inhuman to do it, but he eventually did it. Who else is really good? There's Dr. Arkaville, which I thought was underwhelming, but they like really tried to play him up as a villain. I didn't like that. There was the Game Hunter. I can't even remember the name of in G1. Like, what was his deal? Like, why did you actually want to hunt Optimus Prime, the guy who saved the planet multiple times and is continuing to stop a big threat from destroying the planet? Why? Why would you want to just kill him for a trophy? Go get Megatron. Go get Megatron. It's God, I'm trying to think like even worse. I will tell you, I really think Circuit Breaker is like the Transformer villain I hate the most, and she's patterned as a hero, as like a Marvel hero type, and I don't like that. They're really nah. With G1 Megatron, no, it's not regarding him being a gun again. I'm very well aware this that will never happen. How come they kept two features of his original alt mode? His fusion cannon resembling a scope and having the second barrel on his back. You'd think they scrubbed those going forward. So some designs do scrub those elements, not so much the arm cannon, because it's not just the fact that he's carrying around like yes, it looks like a scope just because that's how the original design ended up looking. But it's the personality of Megatron to find the biggest weapon that he can possibly carry and wear it as a permanent feature. Like that's a Megatron mood right there. But when it comes to like that, it's really just down to silhouette. You know, like if you see like a Transformer silhouette and you see the wide wings coming up like this and the shoulder pauldrons around the head, you know immediately it's a Seeker. You know, and that's important to the identity. Important, like the silhouette of a character is very important. So yeah, that one barrel that's over his shoulder, that's important. You know, the arm cannon, that's important. That's just kind of how Megatron is shaped. You'll excuse me hydrating this time as a mix of water and soda so I can get a little bit of caffeine and keep my energy up because as usual, I'm filming this late. No, this is not breaking the no gun rule. This is legitimately asking like, why do they keep gun elements on the character design when he is no longer a gun? And it really just comes down to character identity. You have talked several times about Transformers that need new alt modes, but are there any characters you feel should always keep the same alt mode? The only one I personally believe should never change is Cosmos. Even Cosmos, I could find other excuses for it. I don't think he should. I think he should always be a space vehicle, but maybe not necessarily always a vintage UFO. So if I'm thinking about this one, genuinely, I feel like any Transformer should like switch things up from time to time. Like, yes, Optimus Prime should 90% of the time be a semi-truck, but sometimes it's interesting to take them out of their elements and see how they look, you know? I like the fact that Titans Return Optimus Prime also has a jet mode. Yes, it's because he's a pre-tool of Octane. I don't care. It's different. It's interesting. Different and interesting is what we need more of. I don't think we should be stagnant in what these characters can be. You know, I genuinely think there's room for all of them to have like experimentation with what their alt modes can be. You know, as long as we, now I did mention silhouette's important. It is. So as long as you can keep like the character identity there, I say go wild. I don't think any of the alt modes are sacred. Citing a 86 Hot Rod as an example of a deluxe figure disguised as a Voyager, should Hasbro permanently upscale the pricing if the end result is more intricate engineering and premium paint? Since Hasbro is already doing this with the more expensive price points of a Commander and a Titan, should fans and collectors bite the bullet and accept the higher pricing if the end result is better figures? So the end result isn't really better figures, because we're still getting those right now. We're just in that, like, it's a deluxe plus, it's a Voyager plus, but we are still getting what you're asking. But it also leaves room for like the more obscure, the lower tier characters to actually get in, because guess what? Like Sure Shot's coming out. Sure Shot is not a character I would pay $35 for, but I would pay $25 for the sake of completing my Target Masters. I feel like $25 is a really big, important number for Transformer fans right now. If they just broke it and went, screw it, deluxes are $35 now, and we're just going to make them prettier. No, that's not going to fly. That's not going to fly. I know a lot of people who are like, okay, if they raise the price to that point, I'm out. I would say like that would end a lot of people's interest in the brand if they went that route. What are the thoughts on Transformers using new characters similar to legacy characters instead of updating those legacy characters? For example, how the Rescue Bots cast is similar to the Protect-A-Bots. Okay, hang on. I need to read this again. What is your thoughts on Transformers using new characters similar to legacy characters instead of updating those legacy characters. So basically using new characters to stand in for old characters. It depends on the circumstance. So like if you are doing like a new series, a comic book or something, and you're coming up with the cast of characters you want, right? And it's Optimus Prime is in there, Bumblebee's in there, like Ironhide's in there. Like you get your like staples, and then like just throw in like first aid instead of Ratchet for your medic. That's different. That lets us tell a different story. Things like that. Updating the characters like you saw in other series, like animated, for instance, that works too. But yeah, it really just depends on what you want to do with the story. I know that's the usual answer of like, it depends on the story, but it really does. It really does. You can't just swap them. You can't just swap characters out just for the sake of doing it. There has to be a point behind it. What happened with the Patreon streak shoutouts? They've been replaced with Ko-fi. Why? Because people were donating to me on Ko-fi. The reason why the Patreon streak stopped is because I don't get people signing up to the Patreon every day anymore. Like, I don't just read off names for the sake of reading off names. If someone contributes to this channel, either through Patreon or through Ko-fi, they get a shout out at the beginning of the video. And for like a solid month there, people figured out they could just tip me, just leave me tips with the Ko-fi link in the description of my videos. So someone just decided, like a bunch of people just decided to get a kick out of like making me do shout outs for a month based on Ko-fi. That's why that happened. It's like, if they wanted to, like, if 365 people want to sign up to the Patreon, I will do their shout outs for the next year like I did before. You know? So there's that to keep in mind. But I don't foresee that happening. So for now, it's just going to be like whenever I get a contribution to the channel, you get a shout out regardless of where it comes from. Would you be interested in making a video where you go boyfriend shopping for Sideburn, as in comparing various red car bots to determine which would be the best partner for him? That's weird and creepy. That's a little bit creepy. I need to write that down for an April Fool's Day or Valentine's Day video. You're asking me to be at best a wingman and at worst a dating app for Sideburn. I also think you are asking me to find him a boyfriend, even though I'm pretty sure he's straight, because he always assumed the red cars were female. I don't know. Like, I headcanon him with road rage. That's just me. What's the number one wish you would make to the Tega sword from Juger? I cannot stress this enough. I keep stressing this every Q&A. I'm not following the current Super Sentai or Kamen Rider. I don't have the time to watch them anymore. So I don't know. You could just ask me, like, if a genie could grant you a wish, what would you ask for? In which case, like, I would ask, like I wish I would be, like, perfectly healthy for the rest of my life so I can take care of the people around me and not worry about myself. That would be in my mind, right? But, like, I don't know what the rules of the Tega sword are, so I can't answer that. What if Hotshot changed his name to Heatshot? I mean, good for him. That's his call. It's a minor name change. I don't think it makes too big of a difference. Do you think Blades should be able to use his blades as blades? So he doesn't need to necessarily use his blades as blades to be named Blades. He could just be named Blades because he has blades. So no, not necessarily. Also, Helicopter blades would make terrible weapons, and anyone into aviation would tell you this. Not that Transformers ever goes for being realistic. With RID 15 having Micronus Prime, Prime Wars having Solus Prime, Cyberverse having Alchemist Prime, and Earthspark having Quintus Prime, which Prime do you think Cyberworld could prominently feature? My vote goes to either Onyx Prime or Amalgamous Prime. If you want to take a more IDW approach to it, where he's essentially like a Loki type, you could probably get away with like Liege Maximo being behind like the Cyberworld thing, just messing with people. That would be my my thought to it. But genuinely, we'll be honest here, Cyberworld's not going to have a Prime. It's not going to have a deep enough story to have a Prime. You know, it's a cheap little quick series to make some money off the new toy line, and that's pretty much it. Question. Should Hasbro start doing continuity crossover shows and series? So basically you're asking me if Transformers should do like generational crossovers. And my answer would probably be no, because like stories and universes are so different from each other across these. The closest we got was Rise of the Dark Spark, which was War for Cybertron crossed with the movies. That's about the only thing we've ever gotten of that. Personally, I guess Robot Masters did a little bit of that too. Kinda, technically. No, personally, I don't have an interest in that, just because like I don't see the benefit of crossing those over. You know, like a lot of the characters are mostly just similar to each other as it is. You know, and it's I don't know. I'm sure some people would love it if it's the right combination. Personally, I'm not terribly thrilled about it, so I don't know. It's hard for me to think up. Do you like Kamen Rider Decade's intro theme? Yeah, Gact, Journey Through the Decade. Yes, it's absolutely one of my favorites. I do like Gaim's a little bit better. I like O's theme a lot better. I like a lot of the themes. A lot of the themes are really good. See, you're been on a Kamen Rider high. You finished Geats and Double. Kamen Rider High is currently watching Gov and Decade. Loving them. Excited for Zets. I'm really excited for Zets. I think that's going to change a lot for Western Kamen Rider. If you could revive any Transformers series, which one would you like to see continue? Animated. Because Animated had so much planned for season 4, and I would have loved to have seen it to fruition. You know, there's a few other series that kind of cut short. You know, like I wouldn't have minded them doing like a season 4 of Beast Wars. I would not mind them doing a little bit more for like, man, even Cyberverse. Like I really like Cyberverse, but I don't think the ending had much weight to it. Like that, I could have done with a little bit more story in there. I'm just like spitballing thinking of others. Like Earthspark apparently has a season 4 on the way, according to like some little thing from Paramount. I need to make sure that is legit or not, and I didn't just like have a fever dream. So who knows? That might actually have a continuation, that like a revival that I actually enjoy. Who knows? Which member of the Squadron X other than Ferrac do you want to see having a toy the most? I don't know Squadron X. I don't know Squadron X. Let me I'm going to do the thing that always makes this take up way too much time, and I'm going to very quickly check TF Wiki for a roster of Squadron X. That's a bunch. There's a bunch in here. Yeah, unfortunately, I do not have an answer for that because I'm just not familiar with the team. I'm barely familiar with Farrak, and that's just because I wondered who the hell is Farrak? Why is he in a Bacon set? Why are you asking a premium price? Because at that point, I'm sure Pete Sinclair just thought we would be dumb enough to buy anything. So yeah, so unfortunately, I don't have that one. I don't have that one. I don't have info on that one for you. If Defensor was in Transformers Energon, what molds vehicles would you use for him? Keep in mind the theme of using 3 molds. Now that's the trick, isn't it? It probably would be, you would have to have the fire truck in the center. That's easy. It would probably be 2 distinct cop cars, because you could do one in like black and white, and you could do one in white and blue to kind of differentiate them. There's a lot of different designs for cop cars. That's easy to do. The other one, I would do ambulance. It'd be like a traditional white ambulance, and then I would redo the other one to either be like a red first response vehicle, like a fire department would have, or like a bright green, not like movie, but like one of the more clever ideas I saw for like redoing was it Firebot? It was Classics Firebot, that mold, and it was repainted into a hazard truck, like a biohazard cleanup truck. That I thought was a really cool idea. You could do the same thing there by redoing an ambulance into that. So that would be the answer. I'd like 2 ambulances, 2 police cars, 1 fire truck. Question in the vein of the ballpoint paint one from Sky Bond. What in front of you want to be a odd Transformer TV remote or a set of dice for me? Out of the stuff in front of me, I would either be thinking of my Switch 2. I would be thinking of my Stream Deck. Being a funny thing to turn into a Transformer. I don't have a whole lot in front of me that isn't already a Transformer, honestly. It's mostly just equipment on this desk. What Jetfire would you nickname Jeffrey? Maybe animated? Animated feels like a Jeffrey. I don't know why. That's just like the first one that popped into my head. Scheduled conflicts fan man asks, when Gob cancels a session, how much advance notice do you usually get, and then what do you typically do with the free evening? So the canceled sessions, it always varies. Like the ones that we've had canceled this month, we pretty much knew because 2 of us were going to MetroCon 1 month. Like 1 week, we had someone visiting. We had someone out of country, and then we had me and Gob at MetroCon, and then the next week, like Ruby's got an event. So like we kind of knew that when going in that like July we were mostly taking off. But usually it's like the day of. It's usually just like, okay, Gob is too exhausted or too behind on things in order to put together a satisfying session for us. And he would rather like take a week off than only put in like a half effort, which I respect the choice. So usually it's the day of. And usually I will either, like, if I have a heads up, I'll probably schedule a stream myself. Actually, I'm doing this on Thursday night after me and my girlfriend did a stream of It Takes Two, because we knew there wouldn't be we knew there was not going to be a scheduled conflicts tonight. So yeah, usually I'll find something to do. I'll turn on Magnetar and I will stream something myself since I'm gonna be since I usually plan to broadcast Thursday nights anyway. Do you think Hasbro could have made a Zap Titanus to finish the MMPR Megazords or the Delta Megazord to make the Astro Delta combination? So your better bet there would have been the Delta Megazord, even though that would have been gigantic for a design that I'm pretty sure not a whole lot care about. Titanus has people who care about them, but again, that would be huge, and for Zap prices, I think pretty impractical. Also, I dread how it would have come out, given how like everything else with Zap Megazords turned out. I hate my Dino Megazord. It falls apart on itself. Ugh. I don't know. Oh my god. Okay. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay. Not really a question, but a rather challenge to change my opinion. The best Transformers era was 2005 to 2008, and we will never get the same level of quality and creativity in the brand. Hasbro too focused on satisfying 40 plus crowds who grew up on G1, care a little about the 30 plus folk, or even the core audience, kids. I disagree that they do not care about kids, because clearly they put a ton of effort into capturing the attention of kids. The problem is kids are very distracted with video games these days, so they would rather play games on the computer, on a phone, than they would play with a toy. And the rising cost of toy production, while also having to create, in order to get kids to pay attention, the toy has to do something. It has to flip, it has to spin, it has to fire a thing, and that stuff gets way too expensive. So in order to actually include things like that and keep it at an affordable price for kids, the toys kind of suck. They come up very low quality, and that's really what hurts like that brand. But they do put effort into making toys specifically for kids. We saw that with Earthspark. We see that with Transformers 1. Rise of the Beast had its own kid-based line and things. We had to wait for Studio Series to get all those characters in like high-quality stuff. And they just kind of spitball gimmicks and ideas. It's all in an effort to get kids to buy Transformers. You can't look at like the Beast Armor like Wheeljack toy, or not even that. Like you can't look at okay. Like Beast Armor Scourge is a good one. You can't look at that and tell me like they designed that for like 40 and up fans. But that said, I'm not going to try to change your opinion. Your opinion is yours. And frankly, you aren't wrong. 2005 to 2008 is an incredibly strong period. You had Cybertron, which I still think is the best Transformers line we ever got. You had classics. You had Universe 1. You had Universe 2.0. You had like Last Thralls of alternators coming out. You had the 07 toys. You had Transformers Animated. This is a ridiculously stacked period for Transformers. And it is where things, just before things started to go down, which was the first big budget shift with Transformers Prime. So you're not wrong. And I'm not going to try to change your opinion here because I frankly kind of agree with it. Yeah, so I'm not going to change your mind because I actually agree a lot with you. But it is when Hasbro sticks to G1, it's a matter of safety. Keep in mind, kids again aren't buying toys like they used to, so they need to play to nostalgia. And frankly, it's all G1 makes them more money. It's really is that simple, right? So right now, Armada Red Alert is the shelf warmer of Age of the Primes. Cybertron Starscream did not sell that hot. Like I remember seeing that on shelves for quite a while. And things like that repeat. G1 stuff sells through, those random ones do not, you know, like a Shadow Striker in Legacy was everywhere. Like that toy did not move. All of her wave mates did though. So so it's a matter of safety. It's a guaranteed sell, and the toy industry needs guaranteed sells because right now they've been struggling a lot. It's a bad thing, even though the Transformers franchise has been a mixed bag lately. I'm actually okay with fans like us, including big Transformer YouTubers, aren't the ones in charge. Oh no. If Transformer fans were in charge of the Transformers franchise, it would be dead in 3 years. It would absolutely be dead in 3 years. Okay, so Aerial Convoy, you're pointing out specific examples, but there are also times where this is like, it really is subjective. It really is like case to case scenario, you know, like, oh my God, it's late and I need sleep. What's his name? Kevin Smith got put in charge of He-Man, a guy who in the past said he didn't really care about He-Man and then had to pretend like he did. You know, he's separate from the brand, and his show got a very mixed reaction. We still don't even know if they're going to continue it with season 3. We've heard nothing about that. But that said, you look at something like Transformers Animated, and you know, like Derek Wyatt was an enormous Transformers fan before he got picked up for that series, and he did incredible things with, you know, the creative input he had and the characters he was designing. That was to our benefit. You know, there are a lot of projects that are just came from people who had a passion for what they were doing. So, you know, like the people behind the new Superman movie are big Superman people. They, you know, and it shows because that movie's really good. So I think you're off base by saying that, like, well, like fans should not produce things for this because they're going to know it best. And yeah, sometimes, you know, they do put on really good things. I do think it's a bad take because it's equal parts. I have seen mega fans of a franchise create absolute duds when they get put in charge of it. And I have seen people, who know next to nothing about the franchise do the exact same thing. And I've seen the flip side. I've seen people who just came in and go, I have no idea what any of this is, but we're doing this. And it's amazing. And yeah, and then I've seen the super fan that also produces just amazing stuff. It's case by case. I think like boiling it down to just like, oh, well, just like every time we put a mega fan in charge, it sucks. That's not fair. That's not fair. And it's tunnel visioning on the bad and not looking at the stuff outside of it that actually worked. You know, we have a director for Rise of, you know, like you look at like the effort that put into Transformers 1. There were people in charge of that really liked Transformers, and that's why it came out so good. Things like that. So yeah. I feel like this is going very slowly because a lot of answers here have been long-winded. I asked people for very short questions with very short answers, and I feel the need to expound. Has there ever been a figure on paper that has everything you want, fun transformation, gratification, but for some reason you don't love it as much as you wanted to? A lot of times, it's hard to come up with exact examples. I think the one I default to all the time is Dark of the Moon Skyhammer. Like, everything about that toy looks really, really cool. I like a lot of the stuff that it does on paper. When I messed with that toy for the first time after everyone hyped it up, I'm like, did I get the right toy? Did everyone else talk about this? And it's just like, meh. Things like that. I think the Titan Arc was the same way. Because like, like the the top opens, so like you have like a little play set for micro figurines. Okay, that's cool. A chunk of it comes out and becomes Teltran 1, who turns into Mainframe. That's really cool. And then I got that toy in hand, and like I'm like, it sure does exist. It's currently taking up an entire tub in my storage room that I would love to. I love the space back, please. Why was Tigerhawk named Tigerhawk and not Tigerazor? Because Tigerazor does not roll off the tongue very well, as you can clearly tell. But also, Tigerhawk was an existing name they had from G.I. Joe, so it's just a matter of like cheap trademark. Keep in mind, Tigerhawk was a character that Hasbro kind of waffled on whether or not they were actually releasing the toy. So the name was always just going to be something they already had available, didn't have to clear through legal or anything, just slap it on and send it out the door. So that's why it was Tigerhawk. What is one anniversary figure you would like to be reissued for its 20th anniversary, regardless of what figure it is? Lockdown. I really regret selling mine because it's a brilliant toy, brilliantly engineered toy. Don't know why nothing's tried to copy it since. And it's way too expensive on the aftermarket today. Absolutely locked down. Since its design has most variations, which version of the Constitution class starship is your favorite original movie? Kelvin Time. I don't remember the. Okay, Razor Guys. I think Razor Guys asks Star Trek related questions a lot. I like my Star Trek, but I'm not a big enough fan to know all of the different iterations. I don't know what Kelvin A is. I have not watched Strange New Worlds. I'm not even sure I know what a Constitution class ship is. So like you're getting in, so like I appreciate you asking the Star Trek questions, but you're getting into levels of niche and nuance where I cannot follow. So like dial it back to like more common stuff. You know, like I know Next Generation characters and stories. I know Deep Space Nine characters and stories. I know Voyager characters and stories. I do not know. I do not know like specific iterations of like classes of starships. I don't know it that well. How do you see the line between cheap for price versus cheap for purpose whenever you consider to purchase a purchase as bang for your buck? For example, when you buy a toy that's marked for children, yet even as an adult, you can have it as much fun as a child would. This question can be applied not only to toys and collectibles, but everything else as well. So, cheap for price versus cheap for purpose. I'm not entirely sure like what you're getting at with those terms for starters. For me, bang for your buck has always just meant based on what I expect for the price that I paid, I got more than I thought I would. So, for instance, when it comes to like the new Cyber World Skybite. Okay, for $10, it's a dumb little simple transformation figure thing, whatever. But it does do more than the rest of its wave mates because it has a little bit more articulation. It has an accessory you can plug off and plug somewhere else. It's charming because it's a shark car. It has like full upper body automorph, which the others do not have. So yeah, for my $10, yeah, I got bang for my buck because compared to what I expected it to do, based on the others and based on how much I was paying, it did more than I was expecting. That's bang for your buck. But yeah, like cheap for price and cheap for purchase. I don't generally know what you mean by that. Yeah, it's a little hard to parse that. I'm rereading it just to make sure I didn't forget anything. When you buy a toy that's marketed for children, yet even as an adult, you can have as much fun with it as a child would. It just kind of comes down to just like what I enjoy is this thing. It's like, because like even like gimmick, like there's one step Transformers I genuinely appreciate too. So like it's case to case on that in that one. What do you think the best Voyager class toy is? Asking because it's my favorite size class. Oh boy. You are literally okay. So I ask for questions that are like very short answers, and someone has just asked me to boil down every Voyager class toy ever into the one best toy. I'm going to give you a gut instinct here and say Kingdom Cyclonus or its various repaints and retools, because that is a brilliantly engineered toy and almost flawless for what it is going for. It's a fantastic figure. But that's just like a gut instinct. It's like a first thing. I'm sure there's absolutely better Voyagers. There's absolutely ones I've but like I'm not going to comb through a size class that has existed for like 20 odd years in the course of this video just to get an exact one. Imagine if there's a sparkless super mutant blob like Protoform monster that's roaming in Cybertron. Okay, I'm imagining it. Ooh. Oh, do you want me to actually say what's going to happen? So your bet there would be trying to freeze it. So you're talking Ironhide's liquid nitrogen is probably like the go-to here. I don't know, like it'd be freaky. It'd be freaky, but I think there'd be ways of handling it. I think there would be ways of handling it. Like you've got rainmakers distributing acid that could slow its growth and potentially break it down. And disable, and potentially disable it because, we know that's what acid rain does to Cybertronians, apparently. We also have the possibility of like freezing it so we can carry it off planet, etc. Luring it to a place that can be ejected off the planet. You've got options there. Do you think what I've done in New Divide have become just as iconic songs to Transformers as The Touch? Not really. I would argue more people have heard it, but it's Linkin Park, it's like one of the most popular bands of their era, like just licensing their songs, it's like saying like Hooked on a Feeling is iconic as a Marvel song because of Guardians of the Galaxy. It's also just a really good song too. But The Touch is exclusively to Transformers. So it's like, because that is where it debuted. That's where that song debuted. And there's no way to hear that song without thinking about Transformers because it is so ingrained. So no, I don't think they're as iconic as The Touch. Do you think they'll ever make a toy for the long forgotten Autobot Mattock from later G1 Marvel comics? Mattock? I don't even know Mattock. I'm going back to the TF wiki on this one. Unnamed in his original appearance. Name comes from a safe book. Ask Vector Prime. Let's see. Let me take a closer look at him when I can. He looks like a weird. He almost looks like a green cup with like a little bit more of like an Ironhide style head. That's a super deep pull. I think that might be a little bit too deep. Hasbro does just about anything these days, but I think even that's a limit. I think we found a limit there. Do you think Hasbro could have maintained G1's popularity in the late 80s with some different decisions? Or do you think at that point they just couldn't compete with things like TMNT? So kids are always going to gravitate to the new thing eventually. Keep in mind, Transformers died out before TMNT really became that huge of a hit. Like, yeah, like your Ninja Turtles debut properly as a cartoon in 1989. You know, Transformers was dying out in 1987. So that doesn't quite correlate. I think it's more a matter of like, yeah, they were trying to expand what the idea of a Transformer was, but the directions were not working out. Headmasters were great because like they give you a pilot for the vehicles and beasts. That was a good idea. It did limit what you were doing because the Decepticons had to be animals now. And also there's only 7 of them in the first wave. Like I almost like because that there's like swappable aspects of that toy line, more would have been better. More would have been a lot better. You know, that's where Titans Return had a huge advantage. But things like Pretenders didn't go over, Action Masters didn't go over, things like that. Yeah, I think there's just like a lot of half-cooked ideas that don't really work, and they didn't feel like Transformers enough to like connect to the brand, and they weren't all that thrilling. I don't know. Obviously, if they made the right decisions, they could have survived a little bit longer, but yeah, like once you hit Ninja Turtles, I think it's over. Tastes change, moods shift, kids will always gravitate to something new. What was your favorite pre-2014 Godzilla movie? Here's the thing. I can't remember dates of like Godzilla movies a lot. Honestly, like Godzilla movies tend to blur in my head. They really do. Cause and my tastes go all over. Like I like how insane Final Wars is. It's not the best movie, but I like how insane it is. I like the really cheesy Showa era ones. You know, like I really like Godzilla and Megalon. Yes, it's because of like sliding drop kick Godzilla and Jet Jaguar. Like it's fun. It's weird. It's dumb, but it's cheesy. It's fun though. But yeah, but honestly, like Heisei era Godzilla stuff I know is really good. I'm not familiar enough with it to really like parse them in my brain and tell them apart. Would Magnetar get a Bonanza form for playing DK Bonanza? Not quite how Magnetar's power works. Unless there's like a shooting star in the video game he can catch. Probably not. I really like the answers you provide to the Shattered Glass questions people throw around, so I might as well make one myself. What would a Shattered Glass violent... oh my god, how do I pronounce it? Violin Jaeger is like the one that that's the one that comes to mind. Violin Jaeger is how I usually pronounce it. The 3-faced Decepticon leader from Zone, who is apparently made up of a combination of vengeful Decepticon spirits. So Violin Jaeger in Shattered Glass would most likely be like almost like, okay, so almost like the Decepticon equivalent of a Matrix of Leadership, where instead of like this one amalgamated source of knowledge and wisdom, which I think is still a canonical thing in Shattered Glass with Optimus Prime, I haven't checked, but I don't see why it wouldn't be. But that's not a very evil thing to do. So the good guys, the Decepticons in this case, would have something of their own. So like this would be some kind of like spiritual Decepticon that has lasted like beyond death, has not rejoined the spark. Let's say in Shattered Glass, Optimus Prime is so sadistic, he's actually blocked off the Well of Allsparks from taking in any Decepticons. And he thinks that he's banished them to purgatory as a result, but instead he's created like Shatterglass Violenjäger, who is basically a source of wisdom for all defeated and ancient Decepticons. So it's more like, so instead what you have is Jaga from Thundercats, but for Shatterglass Decepticons. I really like this idea now. Why did you put this idea in my head? I really like this idea now. This is almost a video now, like, let's create Shatterglass versions of characters that you don't think you could ever shatter glass. How strong should human weaponry technology be against a Cybertronian where they're effective enough to make mankind not completely hopeless on their own, but not too effective to the point of making the Cybertronians feel overly fragile? I think a human military should be able to stop like no more than 3 Decepticons. Like a large military or like effort should be able to not destroy, but like deter and drive off at least 3 Decepticons. But once you start getting higher numbers, it should be hopeless. Yes, the weapons are doing something negative to them, but not enough to actually disable and not enough to counter their numbers. Humans should be, at best able to defend themselves long enough to escape. I really feel like humans in Transformer stories need to be treated like humans in Cthulhu, and like Cthulhu stories and things like that. We're like, no, you run. You don't have an option of like staying and fighting. You run. What are your thoughts on a TF series that takes place in a retro future styled Earth? So I've seen the 50s postcards. Okay, so okay. That would be fun. You'd get a lot of those like vintage flying car concepts. That would be neat. Like that I would take. That would be fun. I don't know how much mileage you get out of that though. So like maybe that's a good idea for the Timelines quartet. Like retro future versions of what they would have been. What are your opinions of new mask reissues? Ever since I saw the Thunderhawk, I knew I needed it for that as the coolest toy of the 3rd gen Camaro. As the furthest thing from an 80s kid, I always found it intriguing how they tried to mix aspects of Transformers and G.I. Joes with the most rad cars of the time. Yeah, it's a little bit of half and half, isn't it? I think they are way overpriced for what they are. Obviously, like they've got a large part count to do the transformation, the spring-loaded gimmick stuff, the little minifigures. I think price-wise, it could have been handled better. I think it's okay for what it is. I'm not particularly interested in it myself. That might just be because like the 2 mask vehicles I like the most, the Rhino and the Switchblade, I already own the vintage. They're up there. Everything else would have to be, I don't know. It did have to be something very specific. Do you prefer original Wreck-Gar or Weird Al's version? That's tough. I feel like Weird Al's version is just a little bit too dumb. I like weird TV talk Wreck-Gar from G1, like especially because like I don't know how he puts Transformers back together just by like chunking pieces together, but it's interesting. So yeah, I kind of like the G1 better. Now, if you ask me Cosmos, I think I like Weird Al's Cosmos better than I like G1's. If you could choose one thing to be your legacy for people to remember in future decades, what would it be? Wow. Hey Zeus, you might have set the record. You might have asked the deepest question I have ever been asked. If I want anything to be my legacy, I want it to be just the spirit of just fun and enjoying what you like does not have to be limited by anything. You know, you're in what you enjoy is like in Transformers, for instance. I don't care what your gender is. I don't care what your I don't care what your religion is. I don't care where you're from. I don't care about what your sexuality is. All I care about is, are you having fun? Are you having fun? I also don't care about what your age is. For legal reasons on YouTube, I have to say, like, this is an adult channel. This channel is not meant for children. But I feel like a lot of what is wrong with people today is that they reject the things they grew up enjoying because they didn't want to be seen as childish or immature, and were in such a rush to become adults and enjoy adult things that they let themselves forget how much they enjoyed just playing and imagining. And that sense of like childhood enjoyment doesn't have to be a childhood thing. You can just enjoy what you enjoy for as long as you're enjoying it genuinely, and you don't have to be in a rush to ditch it just because, what insert your super, or your not phrasing this well. Insert your superficial reason here. Like, the whole thing about this channel, about me in general, is fun has no age limit. That continues to be true with everything that I do and everything that I preach. I am a grown-ass man. My table is full of toys, and I am having a blast. I deeply enjoy it. And I think that spirit of just having fun and enjoying yourself is so lost on some people who take their lives so seriously, and they're the most miserable people you never want to be around. It's the people who kept that like childhood joy about them. Those are the ones who are fun. Those are the ones you want to know. Those are the ones you bond with. Those are the ones you create meaningful relationships with. Like, that's good. That's what you need. More people need it. Just this rush to take yourself too seriously, I think, costs a lot of people a lot of joy. So yeah, fun has no age limit. And that's the whole point of it. That's the whole point. Who? Whatever happened to Robot Jones? Don't even know who it is. Would you be interested in owning a Studio Series Gamer Edition Ultra Magnus based on the Mystery of Convoy game? It would be hysterical. It would be polygonal. No. Polygonal like the NES sprite can be replicated in the same appearance. No. Think of the NES Mario amiibo. I feel like no Studio Series Gamer Edition Ultra Magnus. It definitely wouldn't be like that. It'd just be Hot Rod painted Ultra Magnus, and it'd be the funniest thing they could do. I wouldn't be interested in it though. It's a little bit too out there for me, and frankly, I don't want to be reminded of Convoy no Nazo. Just don't. Which one was better for Optimus in the Bayverse? Peterbilt long nose semi truck or Western Star custom semi truck? Age of Extinction of the Last Night. Honestly, the Peterbilt, like the long nose. The later one's cool, but I feel like you're not a robot in disguise if you're like making a vehicle mode out of something that is custom and thus one of a kind. It's a little, you stand out just a little bit. Also, I thought the redesign they did in Age of Extinction the last night was just trying too hard. I like the idea that like movie Optimus, like in the first three movies, was much more down to earth, much more practical and realistic. Mad Lib plot part 3. Okay. Lynn, this is not a question. This is okay. This is only kind of a question. Okay. Father and son, two boys and a girl to keep them out of trouble. Two boys and a girl to keep them in trouble. So B is Armada or Cybertron. C is Prime. One boy, two girls. Family of heroes. We got that in Earthspark. Daring, highly trained special mission force to defend the freedom. No, don't involve the military. You need human perspective. Different idea came up with while reading this. The only combination there I don't think we have seen is one boy and two girls. I'm not sure what mix is in there. If this is like two girls for one boy, or if this is like a boy, his female best friend, and like his little sister, something like that. So you're not creating like a competition or anything. And then you get like different character dynamics. I know, we just got a brother and sister though. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the one boy, two girls, because it's a little bit different. And then we'll continue the Mad Libs later. Should there be a law against aftermarket scalping? Unfortunately, no, because that would run too close to like, well, what's the difference between like scalping and just getting market value for something that's rare and desired? Like, scalping sucks, but there's really no way to regulate it or stop it, because then you basically have to cut off like the act of selling off your own property, which is not really going to work. I know you're not really a gimmick guy, but do you ever miss some of the ones that used to be common in Transformers, like spring-loaded weapons, projectiles, electronic sound effects? So, me personally, not really. Like, every now and then I look back and go, man, like, when was the last time we had spring-loaded missiles in a Transformer? Like, the gimmicks I miss are things like headmasters, because they add to the overall play value and pattern of Transformers. I don't really miss things like light piping. I don't really miss like flip out armor or anything like that. You know, like I don't miss those. Um yeah, I'm trying to think of any like actual gimmicks I do miss. It's like not really. It really just kind of depended on the gimmick and the toy it was in. Like weaponizers had flip out weapon gimmicks in Prime, and those toys are really, really good despite that. But I've seen other toys that had like similar gimmicks, like, okay, well, that actually just was to your detriment, wasn't it? If you would want to have another Autobot lead the Autobots after or in place of Optimus, who would it be? For me, it's Hot Rod is Rodimus. I would love for Rodimus to get another turn as leader, just because I really think the fandom, such as it was back in 1986, really just whined too much. And like as a result, and honestly, like the writers didn't do Rodimus any justice, because they really didn't write him as a strong leader. A lot of episodes, it was Ultra Magnus at the lead because his toy was more expensive, so they wanted to sell people on Ultra Magnus. So there was that. Excuse me. It's late, I'm tired, and my throat really wants to dry up and not talk anymore. see, but yeah, that's where my brain's going right now. Is yeah, I want Rodimus back in charge just for a little bit, maybe. See, see, what do you want next year's timeline theme to be? Personally, I want something hyper futuristic in the realm of trans tech or trans tech itself. So for trans tech, you had things that might have been Megatron in design. You do have a Prime you could have done. You have a Starscream that could be done. You'd have to come up with a Bumblebee though, because we're in the Cheetor era still. We didn't need Bumblebee for trans tech. For me, I do kind of want to see the dinosaurs, like just like two packs of like dinosaurs themed after the big four of the franchise. I think that would be fun. Okay, yeah, rest in peace to Jim Shooter, and like all the respect to him for starting off Transformers. Maybe not the appropriate place. Maybe not the appropriate place to put the eulogy. It's like we're trying to keep it upbeat here, and I'm trying to answer the questions. Do they have Zevia in Florida? It's a great middle ground between sugar soda and water. The name's familiar. I've never really tracked it down, so I can't really say for sure. What do you think of a missing link Megatron that pulls a Studio Series 86 Megatron, has a robot mode that's accurate to the original possible, but turns into a tank? You've basically completely undid the point of missing link. Like that's the antithesis of what missing link is going for. So I don't like that idea. Keep in mind, missing link is purely a Japanese series. Hasbro just imports a little bit of it. So Missing Link Megatron is going to be a realistic gun. Whenever they get around to it, guarantee you, realistic gun, because in Japan, that's not an issue. You're just not going to see it offered up on Hasbro Pulse is all. Let's see. Hasbro is forced to release a Bumblebee toy at a Commander class price point. Oh, they're forced to. What do you do to make that a worthwhile purchase? So Commander class price point. So it just has to be $90, right? History of Bumblebee multi-pack. So you literally just reissue a bunch of Bumblebee toys in like premium paint jobs, and you just go from like, here's the G1, here's the Pretenders Classics, here's the Classics, here is here's animated, here is Prime, here is movie. You just make a $90 pack of just Bumblebees. It's just like a legacy of the character. That's a very simple answer. It's not the answer you want, is it? All right, fine. The only Bumblebee I can think of that would actually reach Commander class price point would be RID 2015. It would be the Ultra B Combiner. If you could make that up to be a little bit more substantial when it comes to the other figures involved in that. Making them like proper Transformers and nicer than the original one. That's the only one I can think of that would actually reach that Commander price point and still technically be just Bumblebee. And even then, it's kind of cheating. Do we ever see a Transformers project where Megatron is more evil than Cybertron Galaxy Force Megatron? I mean, probably. Probably Skybound's got a pretty good shot at doing that. They like going pretty dark with their storylines. Excuse me. As I said, it's late. I am tired. Favorite Shattered Glass characters. I kind of go to like, I love that like Shattered Glass Waspinator is both brilliant and indestructible. So they went complete opposite on every aspect of the character. And then another one I like the first depiction of Shattered Glass Starscream, where he's like full paladin and basically in love with Megatron. Like, that's a great inversion. He's a lot of fun. What's your opinion on the current state of Lego? I like a lot of what Lego does these days. So like they do enough original kits to where like if I don't feel like anything licensed, like yeah, there's still plenty to buy. If I look around here, like I've got like my Lego modular buildings are over there. I have like the Lego camera. I just like the look of that a lot. But I like the licensed stuff too. I'm really looking forward to that Game Boy. Obviously, the Soundwave that's coming out. Like even the Friends line has a comic book shop coming out. And like, what would I do with that? But also Lego comic book shop. Yes. So yeah, I'm happy with this. Favorite non-licensed Lego theme? Probably just castle stuff. I love like just being able to build up giant castles. It's a boring answer, but it's true. Do you think the animated Safeguard duo could work as the basis for Darkwing and Dreadwind? I could have sworn I answered this last month. Because it feels familiar. Or maybe I just read it when I opened up the email. But no, Safeguard, I mean, it kind of would. It kind of would, because the theme is there. The theme is definitely there. It would work for the basis of an animated Darkwing and Dreadwind. Like as a reimagining, it would work for them. And it wouldn't work for like a pre-tool for a Generations version or something like that. Circa 2000 battle. Who would win in a fight between Rail Racer and the Super Train Megazord from Lightspeed Rescue? I don't have sizes or power levels offhand. In my brain, Super Train is bigger, but I also have to like remember that like Rail Racer is obscenely huge. I don't know. I think my bet is still Super Train on that one, just out of brute force. Ooh. Voice in my throat is absolutely drying up. I apologize. In the original RoboCop, OCP bring back from the dead Murphy, or they were able to trick a computer that it was human? No, because Murphy did have lingering emotions from when he was completely human, as well as like remaining memories. That's nothing that the computer did. If they had tricked a computer into believing it was human, they wouldn't have left in memories of when he was human, because that would just create an imperfect idea of what they are. Murphy didn't die in the RoboCop movie. He was very badly shot and very badly mutilated, but he wasn't dead. He did not actually die. So yeah, that's where that goes. Would you be interested in doing a video about the Titan class as a whole since its inception in 2013? What works, what doesn't, what they should do with it, what they need to stop doing? I kind of did an overview of all the Titans once we got 10 of them. I don't know if I really need to say any more about them than that. We could, but again, Titans are kind of like a figure by figure basis. There's not a lot of universals when it comes to Titans that I can talk about, because it changes all the time. Like every year, the standard's a little bit different. Oh my god, it's a lot of comments. Says we now know that G1 generation style Bayverse is on the table. Do you think they should still keep the character silhouette similar to the original design or not? So yes, absolutely. So, and we brought this up before. It's like I don't like that Barricade is just a Prowl repaint because it feels lazy and it takes away from the uniqueness of the character. Yeah, like the large arms, the big grabby hands, that's a thing for barricades. So that should be presented in all of his forms, G1 style or not. Bone Crusher needs to just look like a pair of gigantic arms on little spindly legs with a head poking out. That's what Bone Crusher is. We talked about the importance of character silhouette more than once. And yes, even if you do them in G1 style, you should be able to see the silhouette of the character and go, that's knockout, or not knockout, like that's blackout. Like that's Bone Crusher. That's barricade. You should be able to do that immediately. Is Energon Optimus Prime technically a combiner? Absolutely. Absolutely. Because he does combine with other Transformers. Technically anything that combines, you know, with at least one other Transformer is a combiner. It's incorrect to say that like combiners are just the groups of, you know, 5 or 6 members that join together. Which video game would have the most awesome collab figures and why is it Halo? No, I'm not seeing it. Halo's got some cool vehicles. I will give you that. I don't know if it would be the coolest collab figures. I don't know if it'd be the most awesome collab figures. Because when I talk like video games and collab figures, my brain still really wants a Samus Aran that can transform into her gunship. I think that'd be really cool. Favorite scene from Skybound so far? There's so many cool visuals. There's things like Shockwave and the whales. Where like the scene itself is so telling, but also incredibly gruesome and cruel. But on the other hand, you have Optimus accidentally killing the deer and having like immense pity and regret for it. And a lot of people, when that issue dropped and people saw those panels, the reaction was a universal, this is the most Optimus that Optimus has been in decades. This is how Optimus Prime needs to be depicted. And I 100,000% agree. So yeah, incredibly important little moment there. Not sure how or why my question for last time got skipped. I'll try again. So admittedly, sometimes I'm scrolling through too fast and I see something that is not sometimes I might run through something a little bit too fast. But also, I remember this question. Again, I can't remember if I just saw it come up in my inbox or but I feel like I answered this before. Modern Transformers are packed in robot mode because they're selling the character. And they want to sell it as an action figure of this character that kids and collectors recognize rather than just the vehicle. If you think of things like on the shelf of like aerial bots, where a bunch of them do have similar looks in vehicle mode, now like it's going to be a little bit harder to sell them at the same time. But whereas the robot mode, there's enough differences so you can like tell them apart a little bit easier. But also like Optimus Prime is very iconic. The flat nose semi truck is not. That's just along for the ride when it comes to Optimus Prime. So yeah, that's basically what it comes down to. Hasbro made a decision a while back that they wanted to sell the character, not the vehicle they turn into. And I can understand that, but also, yeah, I just like how the packaging looked back then. I liked how the vehicles looked in package better than the robot. Okay. Oh my god. So Jack of all claws. You are able to edit a comment on YouTube and add more to it rather than post like 7 or 8 of these or 9 of these. Yeah, please don't do this. Please don't do this. So this is how questions get skipped. Sometimes it gets skipped just because YouTube and their weird way of sorting this will just kind of like randomly load things and miss a few comments here and there. But this is how I miss questions. When you do like 6 or 7 posts and one of them includes a question, but not as the top thing. The question always needs to come first or I will probably miss it. It's like, please try to make sure like I can see, just please do everything in your power to make sure I can see the question. Don't bury it. Okay, but that said, Jack, do you think that a group like the G1 Predacons would be more interesting or work better as a Decepticon, Quintesson-themed rival commando team to the Dinobots rather than their traditional combiner team depictions? Not necessarily. Not necessarily, because Predaking himself has potential because he's a bunch of predatory animals combined together. Like, there should be enough, like, hunting and combat just instinct in him to be really threatening when he is combined. Also, he is like he is like that, like, the next level combiner because he's bigger than everybody else. The Dinobots themselves, I wouldn't mind them having a counterpoint team, but I really think honestly, I kind of think the Constructicons handle that pretty well because they play more, because like individually they're far more intelligent, you know, and it's a different tactic, but they're still going for brute force, etc. Things like that. Things like that come to mind. I like the Predacons as they are. That said, again, all depends on the story. What Rider Belt engine device would you like to own a working version of? I'd really like the part of me is like I would really like the updated complete selection O's driver so I can actually have all the medals and have them work. But that's way too expensive. It's obscenely expensive. As far as just like rider belts that I wish I had, because I used to have them all. This just took up way too much space eventually. Offhand, I would love to have Strongers, because that's a very old and very hard belt to find. You know, but then again, I really like Stronger. Now when you say own a working version of, I hope you mean toy. I hope you mean toy. And I'm like, no, I'd really like to turn into a guy dressed as a giant bee. But toy wise, yeah, there's part of me that would love to have the Stronger one, but like a lot of it gravitates to like the complete selection stuff that I just don't have the chance to get. So just because it usually is too expensive and is too hard to obtain these days. I'm not even trying to think of one offhand. Like there's part of me that would love to have like the updated double drivers and all that, because I love the Gaia memories, and there's a lot, they do a lot more than they used to now. Thoughts on Ironhide and Chromia as a couple? Honestly, I don't know. Yeah, like two old soldiers finding love on the battlefield. You can kind of look at it that way, but we never really got like old vibes off of Chromia. Honestly, like their depiction in the cartoon as a couple is such a fleeting moment that I really don't even think anything of it. You know? Like I just genuinely I have nothing to say. It's like because they have almost nothing to work with as a couple. What is the most damaged yet still sellable item that your store has bought? Well, we go out of our way not to buy damaged things. So, and like if we buy something damaged, it's usually like, oh, I'm trying to think now. It's usually just like along for the ride. You know, like someone brings in like a huge bin of toys and like, okay, this thing's down at the bottom and it's scrap, but yeah, I'll sell it. I think the most damaged and still sellable have been like old He-Man figures because people will buy them just to have like, oh, well, mine is missing that arm. Or like mine's head is a lot more roughed up than this one. So they'll just buy it for replacement parts. So, and we've had a few of that. All right, everyone's talking about an Alpha Bravo done from Vortex, but what about Stunticon Off-Road done for the upcoming Swindle? Before you ask, this is something Guido Guidi did. Oh, you subbed to Magnetar finally. Thank you for subbing to Magnetar. Or following, because subscriptions on YouTube are follows over on Twitch, and subscriptions on Twitch are what memberships here are on YouTube. It's weird. Terminology's fun. I mean, Swindle doesn't really work as a retool of off-road because it's a truck and a Jeep. So you could kind of make it work, but not really. I think people talk the Alpha Bravo because, yeah, it's just Vortex, you know, and that was the repaint before. It's just Vortex. I mean, you could do it. You could do it. Of course you could. What no one's talking about is doing Blast Off as a jet. That's really what no one's talking about. What Power Rangers team would you want to meet their Sentai counterparts? It's easy answer, but probably Zyuranger, just because you got like 5 ancient warriors waking up these talking dinosaur spirits that that are helping them versus 5 teenagers with attitude. It's a very different dichotomy. Also, like Gokaiger and Super Mega Force, because I think the Gokaigers would just beat them up and steal their keys. How would you think the most Super Robot Transformer show would be? I'm thinking like something like a combination of Get a Robo, the Brave series, Braver, and like a little bit of Gurren Lagann. I don't know. And here's the thing. Super Robot is another genre. I do not know. And I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be really honest. This is going to be brutal. I don't care. I don't care about your Braverns. I don't care about your Gurren Lagann. I don't care about your Getter Robos. I don't care about your like any of that. It's not my preference of genre. It's not stories or characters or designs that interest me in any way, shape, or form. I like Transformers as Transformers. I don't think they need to be like, oh, can we force them to be like Super Robot? No, because then you're not Transformers anymore. So that ideas like that don't work for me. Ideas like that don't work for me. You know, that admittedly comes down to personal preference, and I'm being a little bit mean about that, and I apologize, but like for me, like one, I can't answer this question because I know nothing about Super Robot. I know nothing about Super Robo genres. But also it's just really not my thing. Do you think Scourge, Nightbird, and Battletrap can be customized into hook, line, and sinker? If not, what would you use them for? I only barely remember hook, line, and sinker as like some of the weirdest, I believe, Unicron henchmen. If not, what would you use? Honestly, at the moment, I don't remember hook, line, and sinker well enough to give you an answer on the spot. That would take a lot more research than I can do in the span of this. So unfortunately, I don't have an answer for this one either. Admittedly, Admittedly, this is very late. I'm very exhausted. I did like a 4-hour live stream and then immediately jumped into this. It's very late. What's the name of Agent Magnetar music that plays at the end of your YouTube videos? Oh, I'm trying to oh my god, I don't even watch my own intro. I don't even watch my own outro anymore to remember. So the one I was using before was literally just like a royalty-free song called Shooting Star. I can't remember the artist offhand. But the main song I use is called Catch the Stars, which is done by my friend El Nej. It was done for Magnetar. It is his official theme song. And I'm using just like an instrumental version for the outro. But also, yeah, happy birthday. Happy birthday, July 28th, not too long after mine. Have you looked at other series that Blockies has made besides Transformers? I know they've made Ultraman and Kamen Rider stuff. I've been eyeballing some Kamen Rider, but for the most part, no, just because I don't want to get sucked into anything else. You know, and they're probably going to produce something else that's going to be very dangerous for me. I know there was a rumor they were going to do Mega Man, like some like leaked image that showed they were doing Mega Man. That would end me. What is the evil you from 1,000 years in the universe, 1,000 years in the future doing right now? I don't know. I genuinely haven't thought about that character in years. He's still probably plotting some way of probably still plotting some way of like destroying me without somehow erasing himself from existence, but also doing so under his mother's curfew. If he is still around, you should make him become an antagonist for Magnetar with an evil version of your power. Trust me, no one needs to suggest anything for a storyline for Magnetar. I literally have this mapped out for years. I don't need to bring back a really, like, frankly, like, the evil descendant character from TJTV is so old at this point. No, like, barely anyone's going to remember it. It's a gag that's just going to be lost on most people. I appreciate the ones. I appreciate the people who remember it, but like it's done. He's done. I have no interest in bringing him back. I'm especially for Magnetar. The entirety of Magnetar is do new things. Do things that are completely unconnected to TJOmega. That's what I want to do. I don't want to bring back any of my old stuff for Magnetar. I want it to be a completely different project. Trust me, I got things in mind. If Tar and Soundwave and Lugnut were all on the same team under Megatron, would they be good friends, respect rivals, or absolutely hate each other? That's really going to depend on the rivals. There's really going to be, okay, so it really depends on, like, there are versions of Soundwave that have been power hungry that would, that wouldn't do well in this because he would be trying to elevate himself, to a higher positioning. Lugnut would make himself a rival to Tarn because Tarn literally worships Megatron in his ideal and the Decepticon way, whereas Lugnut is just Megatron's biggest fanboy. So this would be a rivalry between which one is, the best, the best for Megatron, while Soundwave just kind of looks on like these two are idiots, and he's just going to prove through action that he's the better of the three. I think there'd be a rivalry between all of them. Still incredibly efficient, though. If you had a choice to save the planet, but you had to be the Herald of Galactus or Unicron, who would you pick? Huh. So here's the thing. Galactus needs life energy, Whereas I think Unicron just needs to eat. So like if I could steer Unicron to like lifeless planetoids and just have him munch those, that would probably be the safer option. Ugh. Excuse me. I think we're almost done. But no, it seems like it's easier to escape Galactus too and just kind of go do your own thing. So I don't know offhand. I don't know offhand. I might go with Unicron on this one. I might go with Unicron on this one. Oh, no, we got some more to go. I'm looking at like the scroll bar here on the side. Like, oh no, it just jumped up again. It loaded more. Would you like to see the Hate Plague return as a major threat? In my opinion, the most interesting and terrifying large-scale threat that could do besides Unicron. Only because there's only so many ways you can handle it. Earthspark brought it back as a threat, but like they had like, well, it's a literal virus, so severe cold kills it. So yeah, there's that. In my opinion, not really, because there's only like so many ways, so many things you can do with the Hate Plague, and really it just feels like an excuse to make the good guys fight each other. I don't know. I like the Hate Plague in small doses. Favorite Pokemon set you've collected or opened? I mean, that's just gonna go back to the OG stuff. Like a lot, I think there's a lot of problems. I think the like modern Pokemon product is way too saturated to enjoy. Just like I want to know I'm capable of completing this entire set of cards when there's over 200 cards and then like 50 secret rare ones that I have almost no chance of pulling. That kind of takes away my hopes of getting a master set, doesn't it? So yeah, that's just gonna go back to like the OG stuff, base set, jungle. Because hey, first Scyther card ever. Of course, I pulled a ton of jungle until I got one. How would you feel about Transformers being themed for Lego minifigures? They tried it with Creo. Now see Lego take a shot at it. If I can get like Lego Metroplex and Trypticon, or if I can get like a Lego Autobot City or Arc Command Center, that would be really cool. That would actually be a really cool thing for Lego to do. In general, I like when Lego just makes stuff that's scaled for the, you know, for minifigs. It's why I hate half of the stuff they do for Nintendo. Because like all the Sonic stuff is good because it's all minifig based. Where's my minifig Mario? It's not fair. It sucks. I don't want the big stupid electronic one. Do you think Transformers could work as a tokusatsu? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. If you want Transformers as a tokusatsu, watch Master Force. Because, you know, they basically do henshin into their robot forms. So that's about as close as it got. And personally, I didn't like Master Force. So there you go. Should Autobot aircraft character Titan be Broadside or Metroplex? I'm not sure. Metroplex has a vehicle mode that you could call an aircraft carrier, but it's a ground-based tank. I would consider it like a mobile artillery platform. No, I think aircraft carrier needs to be Broadside, but like Titan is too big for Broadside. I think he's commander. Like in the same way that like Jetfire is commander sized. Since we are getting a sequel to Spaceballs, do you think we could get a crossover Transformer? Oh, finally get Mega Made? Depends on how well number 2 does. Also, happy birthday to you too. July 22nd, even closer to my birthday than the last one. How terrifying would it be if scientists in Kamen Rider got a hold of Transformers tech, or vice versa, scientists in the Transformers universe got a hold of Kamen Rider tech? So I feel like villains would get a hold of Kamen Rider tech and Transformers in order to actually compete with Transformers' strength. And then you are facing like a meta-human situation like they had in the Marvel comics. You know, it gets into your like circuit breaker. In the reverse, I'm not sure what Transformers tech would come in handy for a Kamen Rider. I'm trying to imagine it, and it's not coming to me. It's like why would a Kamen Rider need to turn into a car? There are ones that turn into motorcycles. They don't really need anything else. We've already had Keith David, Erica Lindbeck, and Edward Bosco in Transformers, who is another VA from Hasbin Hotel, Hell of a Boss universe who runs the Cast a Transformers show, and as what character? Yeah, I'm getting way too sleepy. I am absolutely dead exhausted. And the scary thing is I have to be up early tomorrow to make sure I catch a delivery at the toy shop. Oh my God, I'm going to have such a fun day tomorrow. So honestly, I'll be completely honest with you. I don't know the names of the voice actors in those shows. I love both of those shows. I can't remember any voice actors. Like I would just like look at Alex Brightman and just go, sure. Yes. It's way too late for me to remember specific actors now. What character pairing is the most crazy in the Swapticons currently? Do you mean the ones that are multi-packed together or the ones that you can combine yourself? Because there's something amusing to me about Bumblebee and Hot Rod combining in a multi-pack because one was meant to replace the other essentially. Oh my God, I'm trying to think. I can't think right now. I'm burned. I'm so burned out right now. This is bad of me. I shouldn't be continuing, but I also have no choice. I have no choice because anytime I save this to record and post the day of, it always goes wrong and I barely make it under midnight. So I have to finish this. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like crazier Swapticons, like it's kind of fleeting at the moment. Who do you think should be Optimus's true second in command in terms of year 1 and 2 bots? Ironhide, Prowl, or Jazz? I really do think it's Jazz. Like he was usually put in that position when it came down to it. Ironhide comes across as the veteran who's sticking around, but like really doesn't have that command presence to him. Prowl, you would think, but like in G1, and you're talking about year 1 and 2, he does not have a command presence to him. Jazz is at least giving orders and taking charge in certain situations. Prowl, not so much. Prowl, not so much. Like God, I'm thinking like Jazz feels like it feels like a commander or a captain, whereas like Prowl feels that's like a lieutenant, somewhere around there. If the rescue bots were translated and reinvented into a runner-up team like any other sub-faction of Autobots and became a supporting branch of the Transformers brand, what would you do to make them more interesting? Whether be it making them a combiner team or have them retain their kid-friendly appeal but more interesting backstories. So, I mean, as rescue bots, you would probably make them some kind of like junior team to like the Protectobots, potentially allowing them to be like alternate combiner characters for them, at least for the limbs. So maybe that. I'm not sure exactly how to make them more interesting because they do have distinct characters to them. And I think if you put them under the Protectobots, who are still, they are protection vehicles, but they're still primarily warriors against the Decepticons. So when you have a team that's integrated into the protective bots, but their focus is, saving people and stopping disasters, you have a different mindset, and that the two have to get along. And that's where you draw some interesting story from. Oh my God, it just keeps loading more comments. This doesn't end. I recently bought Toy Hacks symbols for my Wreckers and Elite Guard members and was curious, should the different teams and the Transformers have their own insignia? I don't really see that as necessary, because you are going to go, you're going to go a little bit too crazy on those. And then it's just going to be like, it's going to be a situation like trying to remember every single icon for each series of Magic cards or each series of Pokemon cards, is trying to remember what shape goes to what group. So I don't think that necessarily works. I think that's just going to overcomplicate things a lot. And if you want to know, like, yeah, technically the medics for Cybertron share a symbol. It's an Autobot symbol with like the 6 bars coming out of it, because they can't do the plus sign because that's copyrighted. If a series was made with lesser known mold partners of the main cast, do you think it would be successful? Example, White Ultra Magnus, probably not as a series. Not as a series. Cartoon or comic book series, no, because just seeing a bunch of familiar characters in different color schemes would confuse everybody reading it. But as a toy line, capsule line at best. And we have seen a lot of that being done. Could the dreads from the live action films be considered that universe's version of the Viacons? I don't really think so, because the dreads are like a formal, like, unified group, whereas the Viacons are really just grunt soldiers sent out to get shot. Like, there's only 3 dreads, to my knowledge. Like, your Viacons are like just whatever generic Decepticons are grouped up for the final battle, because they do that literally every movie. Thoughts on Power Rangers Unworthy, a fan series made by groups of passionate fans called Unworthy Productions. Never heard of it. Don't really like fan-made productions like that. Again, sorry. I have nothing to answer that. Is there a female Autobot or Decepticon you would like to see getting in the spotlight, like RC, Elita 1, Nightbird, Chromia? I mean, in general, the females need more of a chance to shine. They need more spotlight. I really like Anode and Lug from IDW 1.0. I'd love for them to get a better spotlight. Nautica, I think, really needs a better spotlight so she can get an actual toy. The one I like the most, and she barely ever shows up, is Slipstream. I would love for Slipstream to just be like a mainstay amongst Decepticons. Biggest missed opportunity for Age of the Primes Year 1. For me, it was not doing a multi-pack of Prima, Alchemist, and Onyx in media accurate colors. So you would never do those in year 1, because you are still releasing them in their like intended color schemes in year 1. You know, as I'm answering this, Onyx is not even out in the US. And Alchemist just came out. So to do a multi-pack of them, where like, oh, here's these toys in different colors right away, that's not market savvy, and that's borderline abusive to like put out new toys in multiple color schemes so close to each other. No. What you want is to release them later on, so you give people a second chance of getting them, and you keep, a little bit more product, a little bit fresher. So that would be like a year 2 thing, not a year 1 thing. Biggest missed opportunity of Age of the Primes Year 1. I'm not sure what there is for it, other than like, Like other than like, I would love to see some representation of Prima or Primus themselves, because it does feel weird to have like the 13 primes but no Primus. I'm not saying make him like the HasLab or anything, but like take a Hot Rod or a Rodimus Prime and just do like the Goldie Hobby one. That's fine by me. Is there any video game you want a Transformers crossover with? And we kind of answered this already. Metal Gear Rex or Ray's Transformers would be a little bit redundant because they're mostly bipedal robotic already. I said it before. I want Samus that can transform into her gunship. Easy one to do. Okay, someone else who wants Carrion from Marvel Legends to complete the Carnage family. Thank you, Shady. Thank you very much for validating me. What if Optimus transformed into a bus? Then you'd really have to figure out where the rear half of the vehicle mode goes. You can't just poof away half of the bus, can you? Would you consider making a video about making the Diaclone Constructicons into Transformers characters? Potentially? I'm not entirely sure how I would go about that, because you're basically just asking me to write a story about 6 characters who really don't exist. Because in Diaclone they really weren't characters. I don't know. Like that one I would have to give some good thought to. What is the loudest Transformer figure without a sound gimmick? You would probably be looking at some of the Titan class figures just because of how loud and chunky all of their joints end up being, especially anyone that have spring loaded. G1 Fort Max gets that too. Like there's a lot of like really loud clanks in him when you transform him, especially an old one where those springs have gotten really stiff. Guess we're all old now that I think about it. If Takara Tomy and Capcom decided to do another Monster Hunter collab and they decide to make a Piscine Wyvern like the Plesioth into a TF character, which mold will they retool? Oh my god. Plesioth. Hang on. Trying to do it. Okay. Okay, one of those. One of those. For that, you are probably no, not a T-Rex, not a Megatron T-Rex. Like that's too thick. More along the line, like for something like that, more along the lines of probably Dinobot. Probably Kingdom Dinobot would be the better bet. I don't know why, like I don't know why they make Plesioth though. Like that's a little bit of a cut compared to a lot of them. Oh my god, a lot of Galactus questions. Would Unicron and Galactus get along, or would they try to destroy each other since they're both planet eaters? No, like literally, if they existed at the same time, each would be the other's only threat to their food supply. They would absolutely try to destroy each other. The sequel to Rise of the Beast would be about Cobra Commander cloning a T-Rex and combining it with Megatron's Smart to make Beast Wars Megatron. I don't think you need to go that far, because we don't even know where Megatron is in that universe. So, like, I think that's just pushing the boundary a little bit. Like, there's plenty of ways to do that without being I don't know, it's just pushing it a little bit. Do you think either Captain Lennox or Kate Yeager could appear in a future film or TV series? Only See, well, number one, congratulations on having your son. Congrats. But it really depends on whether or not you go back to the original movie, the Bayverse, and continue after the last night, which unfortunately looks like it might be possible because Bay's coming back. Yay. But you'd have to set it in the right universe and the right timeline in order to get them back in. I think Lennox more likely than Cade. Um, what do you think of the Decepticon leaders of Decepticon Island and RID 15? I did not finish RID 15. That series in particular, I just did not care about, did not care for, and didn't have a whole lot of interest in outside of interesting designs. So the three you're describing here, like, I don't have an answer for you, unfortunately. Not everything can be in my privy of knowledge here. Favorite mini-bot mold from War for Cybertron to current day. Currently mine is Legacy United Gears. Gears is pretty solid. I do like the Gears toy. Mine is pretty front and center on the shelf at the moment. I like the Brawn as well. I that one was good. I like the Cosmos as well. I think a lot of the mini bots came out really well. I'd probably go with the Cosmos. I think that would probably be the one. Given how it varies between new sounds, new sound mixing for show accuracy, and gimmick items forms not accounted for at the time of the show's initial release, what does a Sentai Memorial or Kamen Rider CMS item or bundle need to do or include to make a must have item for you? In order for a complete selection to actually be worth it, it just needs to make me feel like it's right out of the show. So like the sound effects have to be in the right, uh, they have to be accurate sounds. They have to be accurately timed. So like one of the big differences between like the DX Deca Driver and the complete selection is that when you have when you do that ka-chunk to activate the card, you hear that decayed. Whereas in the show, those two sounds would overlap. And that's that makes it feel better. And things like the complete selection O's driver, it has those little hidden functions to make music play after you henshin. That's another thing that makes it feel more like this is straight from the show. That kind of stuff I really like. So yeah, it just really has to be just like feature rich and accurate to how it looked and sounded in the show. That's what I want. You should check out Gravity Circus. Not a typical Mega Man like, but it is good. I'll take your word for it. Right now, I've got so many games I haven't played. I'm really not looking to add anything to the list. How evil would it be to replace bars of soap in public bathrooms with identical blocks of butter? Yeah, who hurt you? Oh my god, that's a... Not that I plan on doing such a thing anyway. Yeah, it's a little mean. It's a little mean. The butter would have to be firm enough to trick people. That'd be the one thing about it. My god, so much of that space was just like, how evil is the butter plan? With Onyx Prime and his triptych mask, which prehistoric beast or historically mythical creature you want in the franchise? Historically mythical? I don't understand what that term is. Because if it's a mythical creature, it doesn't exist, so it can't actually be historic in any way. But like prehistoric beasts, I mean, I like weird stuff like going back to Dinobots that need to exist, like an Archaeopteryx comes to mind too. So things like that are a little bit more interesting to me. I mean, we're talking like straight mythical creature. I've always been championing a phoenix, or not a phoenix, a griffin. That just seemed like an obvious fusor. Never happened. I think another good one would be a saber-toothed tiger. Like we don't have like a good Similodon. That would be good too. I know the G.I. Joe Transformers are not well received, but would it work if the Transformers were G.I. Joe scaled normal vehicles and tweaked them to be like those mask vehicles? No. In vehicle mode they deploy web, so they have that G.I. Joe energy. I wouldn't call that G.I. Joe energy. G.I. Joe vehicles are just straight up military vehicles. So yeah, like flip out weapons and like mask style conversion. That's not really G.I. Joe's thing. And here's the thing, so one of the problems, one of the reasons why G.I. Joe Transformers are not well received are because they feel very cheap for how big and expensive they are. So when you overcomplicate them with even more added like spring-loaded flippy gimmicks, you're asking for them to come out even worse. So there's that to keep in mind. No, really, I think making them scale to 3 3/4 inch figures is a mistake. I feel like the toys would have been way more solid and way more enjoyable if they were just normal Transformer scale. They're just having to turn into G.I. Joe vehicles. Because that size, that scale required is also the reason why they got so expensive. Would a series like RED 2015, but better, that takes place after the war, no Megatron, Galvatron, no Major Prime involvement. I would like a series like that. It will never happen. It would never happen, but yeah, we would absolutely get. I would absolutely like to get that. Since we have Star Convoy, do you think we can get a Titan Super Megatron? Maybe not as a Titan, because I don't think Super Megatron is as big as Star Convoy. But then again, Star Convoy is toy-wise gigantic. I feel like Super Megatron and thus Ultra Megatron would have to be released at his own scale in order to be appropriate. But hey, they're willing to do just about anything now, so it would not surprise me. Favorite Thundercat as a kid, either a toy or character. I liked Panthro. That might have just been the nunchucks, and this is like pre-Ninja Turtle, and I still liked Panthro. I don't know. I liked the design. It just seemed like a really tough one. I liked him. What do you think it would take for Hasbro to release some of their unreleased prototypes, i.e., Marauder, Megatron, Transtech, etc.? Customer interest and just confidence that it would sell well. I would love for Marauder Megatron to make it to the light of day. I would love that Transtech Starscream because that looked really, really good. But yeah, it's just fan interest. Just keep making noise. Just keep letting them know, hey, this is a thing we want. And like that gets it closer to release. Now, Marauder Megatron, like that's the problem that these days, like Marauder Megatron would be trimmed down a lot to fit modern budget, which sucks because like it wouldn't feel like a old school animated figure anymore. But I'd still like them to try. Would you want a group like the Rescue Bots to show up in another universe? There's a lot of Rescue Bot questions here too. Just give me thoughts for what the thumbnail is going to be. As we answered it before, yeah, like because their goal is different than just battle Decepticons, yeah, like there's always a place for them in other universes, and it's a place that makes sense, like because like these Autobots and Decepticons are battling in the middle of cities with a lot of civilian casualties happening in the live action movies. You know, you'd think if there's a team of like Transformers their team of Autobots are specifically to just get civilians out from harm's way, not only would that make the Autobots look really, really good, but also, you know, that would show what they're actually doing. I think back to the 07 movie where Optimus is like running after Sam to kind of like, because Sam's being chased by Megatron, Optimus is trying to make it there. And there's just like a scene where just like a helicopter with a human pilot still in it. It's just like going past Prime in the opposite direction, about to crash. And Prime doesn't even try to save the human. That's not Prime, by the way. That is not what Optimus would do. But also, that's prime example of like, this is where rescue bots would really be handy right now. Just like a team that's designed specifically to save people while all this fighting is going on. So yeah, you could absolutely use them. Who from the Unicron trilogy would you like to have updates? Anything Cybertron? Yeah, we need a brand new Cybertron Optimus Prime as a commander class, please. Please do that, please. But for updates from the Unicron trilogy, there's genuinely like there are a lot that I would really like to see, because there's a lot of cool designs that deserve another go. Energon Prowl I like a lot better than most people do. I'd like to see him done again. You know, like I'd like to see like Shock Blast and Six Shot done in a way that felt more like an actual Transformer. You know, because they did feel kind of jank and kind of simple. There's so many. It's a very loaded question. It's a very loaded question because I could answer that for like 30 minutes straight. And the final one that we have here. Have you read the Wild Robot book trilogy or watched the movie? The last time I flew on an airplane, I finally got to watch the Wild Robot. Meant to see it in theaters, never got the chance to go see it. Movie's right up my alley. I really like that movie. It scratches the Wall-E itch in me, and it's a little bit more, because you got talking animals, it's a little bit more Disney whimsy than Wall-E. But still really good movie. And that is going to do it. Thank you everyone for sending in the questions this month. Like I said, there's going to be a pinned post at the top of the comment section, so you have all the info of like how to answer, how to post your questions, what I need you to do for me so I can answer them. And yeah, join me on the 1st of September for all those. Until then, I need sleep. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.